today our session is going to be about the business models, and I will try to share my screen right now with you. Okay, I hope that it should be fine to see. Yeah, so as said, today's our entire day will be dealing with sustainability in business models and their innovation. How can we innovate those business models? For this, we have a thought of the following agenda. I will start with a input lecture telling you about the definitions about the business models, their innovation, their sustainability, and give you some examples of good sustainable business models running here in Germany. And then we will see how far we come. I have to stop then at some point because we will have the guest lectures. The first one will be Frank Speer, and then Leila, and then Marcel. About them, I will tell you when it is so far. And now I would not like to lose any time, but right away start with an input for you. The idea is that I give you this input about the transformation process towards sustainable economies at the business level scale, so that you are already well prepared for our guest speakers who are representing actually startups from here, from Germany. Good. So the agenda for my talk is the following. I will give you some definitions about the current economic system, being focused on business model and their innovation, sustainable business models, but as well as sustainability criteria at corporate level. So in that case, I will be talking about the corporate social responsibility, or in short, CSR. Then I will give you some case studies which represent, I would say, the best cases. There are surely plenty of the worst cases, but we will not have the time to focus on the worst cases. And then I would like to give you a hands-on tool to develop your own vision and strategy about probably in the future your own business model or for the company where you are working for. And for that, I will give you the instruction on business model canvas. Let's firstly start with the current economic system with business model concept. You see here on left-hand side, plenty of literature talking about business models. The first literature review started at approximately the year of 2011. Saying that business model concept is actually just a brief communication method for complex business ideas to potential investors. It's quite easy, a straightforward interpretation of a business model. And then we had different series of literature authors who said that actually business model is a tool for systematic analysis, planning, and communication of different organizational units in face of complexity the firms are facing, as well as business models are helping to evaluate the strategic asset for competitive advantage. Last but not least, I would say the revolution in business models started with Osterwalder in 2014, who said that extrapolation from potential customer and value chain benefits to the required configuration and implementation of the business model element is the key for starting development of the business model concepts. Here on the right-hand side, you see the business model innovation. What is it? Generally, it is seen as a process of business model exploration, adjustment, improvement, redesign, revision, creation, development, adoption, and transformation. So basically, you can see any kind of change within a core of business model as innovation potential. There are four kind of business model innovation stages, I would say. The first one are the startups. What is it? It is seen as there is no current business model and that a new business model is created. So completely new idea. The second stage is business model transformation. There is a current business model, which your company or the company for which you are working, it has, and then it started to change into another business model, completely different one. For instance, just imagine the case of BMW or another car producing factory here in Germany, who just suggest, assume would not produce any cars anymore, but would only come up or offer mobility packages. That would be a change of business model transformation. Business model diversification is the current business model remaining, and an additional business model is created. And in our example, it would be both BMW would produce the cars further, but also come in with new mobility service concepts, which is the case. Business model acquisition is that an additional business model is identified, acquired, and integrated. That could be, for instance, the case of energy utility, for instance, say RWE, a large energy utility here, who was always into the business of energy production and services with energy. And then at some moment, they started to build charging infrastructure for cars. So in that case, they started to run another additional business model for themselves. So those are the four business model stations, so to say, and two of our guest lectures today will present the first one, the startup scene. So why to innovate the business model? And here I brought the picture for you, or have aggregated from literature analysis. Here on top, you see the properties of innovative business models, which are value orientation, customer orientation. Basically, in the innovative business models, you have a target group, specific target group of customers. You would like to achieve cost efficiency of especially research and development, improve the supply chain management, become more sustainable and flexible. There are some drivers for doing so, but also constraints. The drivers are currently technological development, globalization, ecological development, changes in company structures, sectorial developments, strategic innovations, changes in market requirements. For instance, more and more consumers are environmentally aware and they want to get more environmentally sustainable products, as well as information and knowledge changes of the company itself, because we are living in a dynamic world and there is always new knowledge being produced out there, so that any company should be well informed for the new changes and challenges. There are also some constraints, which are actually the key is basically the less supportive organizational culture in the company. So if you have a large company, it will be very difficult to change the culture there, especially when it comes from employees. So some employees have been doing the same job for the last 50 years. Why should they innovate their job? So resistant employees are also a big constraint. Another constraint is that you have a business model idea, but to implement this innovation from idea generation into the implementation running phase might take a lot of time, as well as participation of the stakeholders, which are then shareholders or supply chain integrators, which are very important for a business model of a company. Now it brings me to a sustainable business model innovation. basically, if we have a company who wants to innovate its business models, its business model, nowadays, you know that the biggest challenge is the sustainability. So therefore, there is a huge new literature strength about the especially sustainable business model innovation. And therefore, I would like to give it to you, the definition. The sustainable business model innovation, or a business model innovation for sustainability, those are synonyms, basically has two aims. The first one is to enhance sustainable development or positive, respectively reduce negative impacts for the environment, society, and the long-term prosperity of organization and stakeholders. And the second aim is to adopt solution or characteristics that foster sustainability in its value proposition, creation, and capture elements or its value network. So if you are interested in sustainable business model innovation, you have to really read the literature analysis and articles and works from Schaltegger, who is actually is a German scientist, but he is a worldwide leading scientist on sustainable business model innovation. So for the first time, he defined sustainable business models as to create customer and social value by integrating social, environmental, and business activities. That was his first book. And then Boken et al. 2013 appeared in the literature, and they said that actually sustainable business models try to go beyond delivering economic value and include a consideration of other forms of value for a broader range of stakeholders. So it's not only the key thing to have a product or a service and then kind of offer this product or service to the customers, but there must be another value behind the product as well, which is then environmentally and socially sustainable product types. Last but not least, the very new definition of sustainable business model innovation came from Evans et al. in 2017, stating that economic, social, and environmental benefits should be conceptualized as value forms. A system of sustainable value flows among multiple stakeholders should include the natural environment and society as primary stakeholders, as well as the systematic consideration of a stakeholder interest, their conflicting goals and responsibilities should be taken into account while co-creating the value. Last but not least, I bet this is the key debate in the policy right now, the internalization of externalities through product service systems. That means that you should have quite normal accounting systems like for your profit or for costs. But now if you want to be, or you want to innovate your business model for sustainability, you have to internalize some externalities like CO2 pricing or the other environmental degradation into your price system or price building system. For that, I have a large list of these externalities, and for the moment it's okay, but I will share this list within a couple of next minutes. So that means that sustainable business models do not only incorporate concepts, principles, or goals that aim at sustainability, but they ultimately integrate sustainability into their value proposition, value creation, and delivery activities, and or value capture mechanisms, thus into the real core of the organization. So if we sum up the business models, we can say it has four basic parts or constraints. The first one is the value proposition with products and services and key activities. The second one are the customers, different customer segments, customer relationship, distribution channels. We have here financial aspects, cost and revenue structures and revenue streams. as well as infrastructures like networks of partners, supply chains, and key resources. About this, all issues I will talk in business model canvas, and then you will be ready to create your own business model. So if we talk about the sustainability dimension within the business models, the economic plus of sustainable business models is that higher innovation potential makes the companies more competitive. New products actually consume less energy and water demand, so resource efficiency as an environmental plus. And the social value will be lowering societal risks, good corporate reputation. If we move towards up right-hand side, the customer part, the economic benefit is that through innovation, you open up new markets. New environmental programs and campaigns might increase the sustainability awareness of your employees, but also of your customers. And social awareness, social networks are very important for customer acquisition. The financial aspects. Surely it's all about the maximization of profitability. And we argue that through sustainable innovation, you might also maximize your profitability. Investments in clean technologies will be very essential for any kind of firm to survive within the next years. New public goods and services, increased employment rates, or social revenues. If we move to infrastructures, then the economic benefits are quite obvious. Those are the optimization of production processes, especially with less variation in employment. So actually you gain more loyal employees for your firm. New environmental standards should be implemented into the infrastructure of your business. And the standards for health and work-life balance, fair treatment of employees should be the social dimension of your business model. So here you see actually the plus points for business model innovation for sustainability, arguing from various of authors, well-known authors. And basically you see the 3 points: the higher returns of business model innovation than the product process innovation. So actually, if you just make a product innovation, it will be less in return of investment rather than completely changing your business model. Sustainable business models have additional benefit of higher risk mitigation and resilience. Basically, we say the more innovation programs you have in your companies, the more better adjusted you will be to risks coming from elsewhere. So resilience will be increasing. As well as sustainable business models yield additional diversification and value co-creation opportunities. That means that you might diversify different kinds of business models, and then you will be better off. So the question asking ourselves, or just imagine you are a consultant and you go to a large firm and you want to then consult to become sustainable. The question everybody would ask is, so why to become a sustainable business? It's quite easy to answer. Most of the time, because of pressure from stakeholder groups on company. What are the stakeholder groups? We have 2 kinds of them. The first one are the internal stakeholders, like employees, managers, and owners or shareholders. So basically, they would make you become sustainable. Other than that, they will just change the company. The owners not, surely, but the employees. The external stakeholders are then the suppliers, broader society like consumers, government, there are plenty of policy regulations, creditors, the shareholders of companies, and surely last but not least, you and me, like an end consumer. So just imagine you have the focal company running your business. There are so many suppliers. I don't like to say supplier chain, but rather suppliers in multi-tier, because a chain is just a linear chain. We are talking nowadays about the horizontal and vertical integration of the suppliers. And then we have, on the other hand, the customers. We talked about the stakeholders and the government. They make a pressure and incentives also for the focal company to make the business models as sustainable as possible. Therefore, the focal company itself makes a supplier evaluation for risks and performance. And the best example here is, I would suggest, the IKEA case of STEA compact of contact. And then we have a supply chain management for sustainable products. About the IKEA case, I will give you a very short introduction later on. Now, a very interesting literature review has been done, showing a number of papers who talked about different pressures and incentives for businesses to become more sustainable. Just imagine, out of 191 reviewed literature, 99 said that especially the legal demands and regulation make the companies become more sustainable. 96 of them talked about the customer demands, 90 about the response to stakeholders, and then the rest, 71 competitive advantage, and less about environmental and social pressure groups, as well as reputation loss. The barriers and supporting factors for sustainable business models, if we still stay on this literature review, 59 papers talked about the barriers to make the business model more sustainable, the higher costs. Then the coordination, complexity effort, especially when we talk about the supply chain sustainability, and then insufficient or missing communication in the supply chain. So basically, transparency along the supply chain makes it quite difficult to transform the business model. But there are also supporting factors. And basically, most of the literature says that the company overlapping communication is quite a good supporting factor, as well as there are good management systems or monitoring, evaluation, reporting, and sanctions. And some of them talked about the training and education of purchasing employees and supplier, as well as integration into corporate policy. So now I would like to go to corporate social responsibility, CSR. And before I go there, I'm looking to Gohar or Fabian, whether Mr. Frank Speer is there. If yes, I would like to make a stop here and give the word to our
yes, he's online already. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, wonderful. Then I will stop here with the impulse. And yeah, just a moment, we will go to our guest lectures. And I'm very, very delighted to start with our official program. And as said before, we have between 14 and 15 o'clock, Mr. Frank Speer from Business Metropole Ruhr with us. It's very, very delightful for us to have you here. Who is Mr. Speer? Just a moment, and I will introduce him just shortly. Mr. Speer has been working for Business Metropole Ruhr, GmbH, we say. It is a business development agency in Essen, and Mr. Speer has been working there since 2013, mainly in international marketing for economic. The business development agency is actually a central point of contact for the entire Ruhr area in all business-related questions. Mr. Speer holds the position of the hub manager in Business Metropole Ruhr. Before that, he worked for innovative German small and medium enterprises in the field of international sales and marketing, and he has an MBA in international business. So you see, in our larger subject of today's discussion, business model and their innovation, Mr. Speer is the right person to start our guest lecture today. Now you have the word, Mr. Speer. It's our great pleasure to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Melkonia. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yes, it's fine.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, perfect. It's a true pleasure. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the opportunity to speak or to give a short lecture in your postponed summer, so winter school now. I have prepared a small presentation. I have 20 minutes or 25 minutes or something like this, or 15. Hopefully there will be some questions so we can discuss the projects I will present to you.
Right. Mr. Speer, before you start, I would like just to shortly tell that we have large participant number from all over the world. Obviously, some 35 people have joined to us, and all of them are really very engaged into this summer school. And I will be keeping my eye open on the chat. And whenever you have some questions in meantime, just write into the chat. I will gather them and then we will discuss them. Okay, so you have for your presentation approximately 20 to 25 minutes.
Yeah, it's largely enough. I'll share my screen. I'll switch to full screen mode. So I am from the Economic Development Agency for the Ruhr region. So let me please give a short introduction of our region, the Ruhr region. We are Europe's second largest metropolitan area. It's 53 cities, over 5 million inhabitants, and due to our central location in Europe, we are one of the logistic hubs in Europe, connecting Europe and Asia by train, plane, and ship. Duisburg is the biggest inland harbor in Europe. For the 2 hours car drive, you can reach more than 60 million customers within a 2 hours drive. Which is, our region has been built on coal and steel, but today we are very lucky and very proud to have the highest concentration of universities, the highest density of universities in Europe, with more than 300,000 students and 22 universities, 130 R&D centers. So our R&D and competence in people is increasing extremely. Our company, the Economic Development Agency, we have been founded in 2007. We have 5 employees. We do focus our activities on regional marketing and internationalization. We do site investment service, of course. We initiate projects in clusters like IT security, green tech, hydrogen, or smart cities. We try by doing these projects, we try to attract foreign direct investments, or try to attract foreign companies, settle down in our region, creating jobs, paying taxes. That's our main focus. Of course, we support international R&D cooperations in various fields, and we try to support companies looking for market access in the Ruhr area. I am happy to be here because our approach for international activities is we are building so-called innovation bridges. So when, of course, our resources are somehow limited and we have to focus on certain subjects and certain countries, and we're doing this by targeting special countries where competences are complementary to the competences we have in our region. We establish strong networks between these tech hotspots in our region and design regional challenges, incubator, accelerator programs for international startups and students to connect academia with startups, with corporates, with investors, and as well with government organizations. So we started with the innovation project Israel. We connected today. We have a strong network between Tel Aviv and our region. We then second hotspot was Shenzhen, Shanghai. So we have the innovation project China. At the beginning of this year, we installed the innovation project North America, and with first contacts and first projects in Boston, Toronto, and our Ruhr region. When it comes to, I think the main topic was mobility and logistics. So I give you some key facts about some mobility challenges in our region. So we are not we are polycentric region of 53 cities and 15 sub-regional city centers with a result of 2 million commuters per day who are traveling between a home and their work, which makes us the biggest commuter region in the federal state of North Rhine-Westphalia. The car is still the most popular means of transportation, public transport less used than in other urban regions. And of course, we have a very dense network of so-called German Autobahn highways. That's more than 700 kilometers. And the proportion, the relationship between highways compared to other regions is exceptionally high. So this is the mobility challenge. It's really one of the biggest in our region that we are facing. One interesting item or fact is our region has been home of the General Motors company Opel for years, for decades. So in 1960 they started producing Opel or General Motors cars with more than 11,000 employees working there. The factory has been closed in 2015, and the automotive industry still is very important for the federal state of North Rhine-Westphalia, representing 1/3 of the German automotive industry. And which is interesting, the automobile Pope, as we call him, the automobile Papst Ferdinand Dudenhöfer, comes from the Ruhr University Bochum, is organizing a so-called car symposium where he manages for, I think, more than 20 years now. He always, each year, he manages to get the most popular, the most famous CEOs from Volkswagen, General Motors, Toyota, Renault to speak at the car symposium in Bochum. And a very, very positive development that I want to highlight. So you have seen more than 11,600 people used to work for the General Motors factory in Bochum. The factory has been closed down, but there are new initiatives of the automotive industry in our region, like Volkswagen Infotainment, and we are very proud to have this company in our region now. It is a 100% owned affiliated company to Volkswagen, and they're focusing on the car connectivity activities in the Volkswagen Group and employing now more than 800 employees, connecting the car, the automobile to the internet. And this is very proud because of these are new, highly qualified jobs, and we are very proud to have this Volkswagen entity in our region, and they are still growing. And this, I think, the objective of the Volkswagen Infotainment is to reach something like 2,000 employees in the near future. Our association or our company is organizing as well a mobility conference each year, where we try to bring together all relevant stakeholders in the Ruhr region, actors in politics, administration, corporates, and institutions, in order to discuss challenges in public transport and mobility, and to discuss best practice example and finding together new solution to improve public transport and mobility in our region. Then there's one, we're talking about innovation and new business models in this lecture. There's one innovation, it's called the bicycle highway, der Radschnellweg 1, the bicycle highway 1. That's a very ambitious goal. So the objective is to create a bicycle highway of, I think the whole distance is more than 100 kilometers to cover the whole region, from in the west from Duisburg to the east Hamm, And of course, the aim is to reduce CO2 emissions. The potential is to avoid 50,000 car rides a day. So this is substantial reduction in the CO2 emissions. So far, 15 kilometers between Mülheim and Essen are already built and used by people, and the final stage of 100 kilometers will be realized in, I think, 3 to 5 years. The objective is quite ambitious, and some regulatory obstacles are still have to be solutions have to be found for these regulatory obstacles, of course. And the main project I wanted to present to you, and perhaps get your questions or feedback on this. What we are doing is to bring together international startups with companies and corporates from our region. So what we usually do, we match the big corporates like ThyssenKrupp, Evonik, E.ON, together with international startups by discussing with them what are their innovation challenges, what are they working on. We create projects and startup awards, and then communicating these awards via our innovation bridges to this international tech hotspots, and startups can apply on this. So, and get into contact with these corporates. We're doing this for years, and 2 years ago we started this international startup award for cities. We called it City Tech Ruhr, and we asked the city administration in the Ruhr region to work on their smart city challenges. And we actually 4 cities participated: the city of Bottrop, of Gelsenkirchen, of Hagen, and Bochum. And each of these 4 cities, they have chosen their specific smart city challenge. And the city of Hagen said, well, we have a mobility challenge. They had big problems and severe problems with CO2 emissions, because Hagen, the city is situated in kind of a valley and suffering from CO2 emissions. And that challenge asked, well, we're looking for new solutions, innovative ways, how we can convince and motivate Hagen citizens and people to use more economic friendly modes of transport, public transport, of mobility. And we have launched this City Tech Ruhr challenge internationally. More than 120 startups applied for this challenge, and we have chosen, together with a kind of jury and the city administration, the best startup to work on this pilot project. The pilot project was rewarded with 10,000 euro to be realized in a 6 months time. And surprisingly, for this Hagen challenge, they did not choose an international startup like the other cities they did, but the city of Hagen has chosen the Berlin-based startup Changers, and they designed a Hagen Heroes, they call it, an app for the public, for the people, motivating them to choose economic friendly modes of transport, use a bike, use a bus. And what the system, how it works is that the citizen, for each kilometer they use an economically friendly mode of transport, they can earn like points, and they are awarded with certain points, and then they can get some incentives and primes for their point. They can get some let's say purchase in shops of the city of Hagen, who are like commercial partners of this campaign, of this Hagen Heroes campaign, and so there are a certain motivation for behaving and choosing economic friendly modes of transport. This app has been launched in August 21. It has been postponed, of course, due to COVID-19 pandemic situation. Up to now, there are 2,000 people using this app. It is how they're facing now is kind of communication challenge, so how they can reach out to their citizens more effectively. But the system is running, and it has been a result of this innovation challenge, where we invited international startups to work on this startup award of the city of Hagen. Yeah, so far this is one innovative business model in the field of mobility in one city of the Ruhr region. What I would like to invite you, so we try to bring together stakeholders with different backgrounds to work on mobility and other challenges. As a result to the COVID-19 pandemic situation, we launched an international innovation platform where corporate startups, researchers, students can register online, and they are automatically matched based on what they are looking for, based on what they are working on. It's like a virtual business Tinder platform, so people are automatically matched with a potentially matching partner, and it's working very well. So we have launched it in September of last year. Up to now, there are more than 5,000 people registered on this platform, and it's the still growing innovation community. We have somehow created the largest innovation network of the region, and connecting our region via these innovation bridges as well internationally. So you are very much invited to register on matchmaker.ruhr, and I'm sure you will find potential R&D and innovation partners to work on your project as well. For example, we will organize on 25th of January a hydrogen online event with Canadian startups, the government of Canada, and connecting Canadian hydrogen startups as well in the field of mobility with the regional hydrogen ecosystem on this on a kind of online event on this platform. You are very much invited to participate. So this is my small input, and I'm thankful for any questions, comments, feedback, whatsoever.
Thank you so much for your very interesting input, Mr. Speer. It was very nice to see how many activities are running around our region, making it more economically stable, surely. I see some applauses. Do you have any questions, dear participants? Take your chance. We have exactly 12 minutes for this session. Probably it could be an interesting thing, because we have so many participants from all over the world. If the participants could say, is there any comparable entity in your countries? That could be an interesting icebreaker to start with.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Kuswe.
Hi.
Yeah.
I'm Sui. I would like to ask a question. How did the Essen region, what sort of government policies were involved in converting an industrial area that is sort of dirty and producing a lot of carbon to something that, so how do you give up something that used to produce so much economic success for you, and then now you're moving into things that are so green? Was it a change of government? Was it a change of politicians? How do you do it? Because I'm coming from Singapore, and we have ExxonMobil, Shell. They have been here for 130 years maybe, and we are very reliant on the petrochemical and oil refining industries. And so how then would we be able to move into a much greener sort of economy?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. You are from Singapore. Okay, that's interesting because we just participated at the Switch Innovation Festival in Singapore last week, and we are in very close contact with the government organization Enterprise Singapore and the colleagues over there. Good question. Now, the structural change that our region has been going through started already in the 50s, 60s. So 50, 60 years ago. So at the I think the highest number of employed people in the steel and coal factory was 1965, something like this. So 50 to 60 years ago, there were more than 600,000 people working in the coal and steel industry. And the last coal mine has been closed 2 years ago. So you imagine half a million people, half a million employees with their families, with their purchasing power, have disappeared. But how did we manage it? One argument is it didn't come from within overnight. So one important factor is the whole process has been managed quite carefully over a long period of time. So we didn't close the coal mines overnight, but we managed that people, otherwise it would have been riots on the street and there would have been a revolution in the Ruhr region, and it would not have been a funny situation. So one crucial fact is that such a change process needs some time. And but a second very important factor is that we have intensive investment in the educational sector. So as I mentioned, we are disposed now of Europe's highest university density, which is an amazing result, because 6 years ago this has not at all been the case. But today we are benefiting from this a lot. So companies like Volkswagen Infotainment, they are settling down in our region for this argument, because they need qualified workforce. And this is our most important asset that we have, is these universities, the qualified workforce is leaving every day, and the competences in fields of future, like I mentioned, IT security, artificial intelligence, smart technologies. So this is today we are like a R&D region in Germany. And if you're asking how did we manage to get such a green region, well, somehow we had to, because if they're closing steel and coal mines, so that means there's less pollution. Okay, but at the same time, together with the new competences in IT security, combined with the old industry that is still there, we develop new business models, new technologies, innovative things. So this is today the mixture of still active industry and business fields with the innovative competences from our universities. So new business models, new industries, new innovative solutions are created which today creating jobs. And yeah, this is let's say this 1, 2, 3 main points from my point of view.
Thank you. There is another question coming from South Africa, and the question is, how can developing countries learn from this case? What would be your recommendation for a developing country like South Africa?
Yeah, it is but I think they are on the best way. They don't need our recommendation. The answer is investing in education. That okay. we benefited from this. We are now harvesting, let's say, these investments. the government has done in the past. So I think we all moving towards an society where knowledge, competences are getting more and more important. So that's from my point of view, that's the most important thing.
Okay, thank you. There is another question from Jerome. Thank you for your lecture. You mentioned use of bicycle to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Do you think it can be implemented in high urban area due to risk of accidents and injuries that might occur? Also, when a large number of people start using bicycle, don't you think it will result in other environmental issues? And how safe is for pregnant women or disadvantaged people to ride bicycle in urban areas? So the question is coming from Nigeria.
From Nigeria, interesting. Yeah, thanks for this. Thanks, thanks, Professor Pelkonia, for this occasion to take part, because it is a pleasure to get these international questions as well. This is really it is a pleasure. No, to get an impression how bicycles really can contribute to an economic friendly city. You have to look to the capital of Denmark, for example, Copenhagen. It's the capital of Denmark. They are, I think, beside Amsterdam, perhaps the most innovative city in Europe. Are the most innovative on integrating bicycle in the public transport in an amazing way. So it can the numbers I've shown to you are really ambitious but realistic, and as a result to the pandemic situation, even in cities of Essen, which is far away from being a bicycle friendly city, okay, but even in the regional city, you see more and more bike drivers in the city, and this can really give a very important contribution to CO2 emission. It is of course more dangerous to pregnant women. I'm not a medicine to answer this question. Another item that we are due to COVID-19 development, of course, there are more and more electric bikes on the streets of Germany. I don't have the exact figures, but they are quite affordable today, and they are somehow a game changer as well in the mobility within a city. So with the electric bicycle, you can drive faster distances. You can go to work even if it is 10 kilometers. You arrive at your office. You don't need a shower. So this is kind of somehow game changer as well.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Just a very short note. You don't have to answer on this. It's critical as to my mind. Do you really think that a bike could be a game changer for everyday needs? So yeah, it's a critical point, surely. We don't have to answer this. Just one more question I do have indeed, because this question has been gone through my mind over and over. What is the difference between the region of Ruhr, our region, or Berlin or Tel Aviv? Because you spoke about Tel Aviv. So if I have a good startup company, how could I attract him to come to Ruhr? What could the region suggest? Thank you.
Okay. If it depends on you what kind of startup you are, in which phase you are, and in which kind of business you are active now. So if you are in the seed phase, and if you're looking for venture capital, and if you're looking for the most interesting parties, perhaps, and to get on, you look for awards, ceremonies, and if you want to, then perhaps Berlin is a quite interesting place. If you're active in the B2C segment, Berlin is not a bad place. But if you are a B2B startup, so if your customers are corporates, for example, and you have a service or product sold to corporates. If you are not in the seed phase, but you're already scaling up, you have a approved business model, you have a product market evaluation that says, yes, right, product market fit is there. You can give a serious offer to corporates. There are no customers in Berlin. There are the big corporates, they aren't there. So in our region, we have the highest B2B concentration, and the companies, as I told you, they are somehow still from the old industries. Sorry for this, and they are desperately looking for innovation and open to get into contact with startups, with international startups. So our region is definitely the right place for more mature B2B startups, and it's a better place and location than perhaps Berlin.
Okay, perfect. Now I know what to answer. There are so many questions coming in again about cycling now, this time from Uganda, that it's actually kind of, I understood from the question, is more like a status symbol, even especially for educated people, saying to have a car is kind of a success story. So we know how to deal with this in our region. That's quite clear. And another question probably which you could really shortly answer is, does the German National Innovation System promote any kind of public policy correlating with intellectual property and sustainability that directly contributes to the sustainable development of the Ruhr region? So I understood from the question whether the innovation potential is coming from the policies, or it's just simply bottom up. I understood the question this way.
The government is supporting innovation in a way. There are fundings and there are awards, there are programs. There is even the bank of a federal state of North Rhine-Westphalia acting as a venture capital player, so investing in innovative startups in certain fields of the industry, like the high-tech industry. So the government, of course, the German government is supporting innovation in the Ruhr region, yes, by various programs.
Yeah, sure, I could imagine this. Okay, so I thank you so much, Mr. Speer, for your very interesting insight into our region. I have learned also myself where I live and work in, and I hope the collaboration will still go on further and deepen itself. So we thank you very much, and I will still take some questions if the participants have, and if you don't mind, I will share later on at some point.
It's my pleasure. So, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So thank you everybody for your active participation. It's always a challenge for me to get all these questions and really gather them and give a combined kind of question. And I like this approach that you are coming from all over the world, and it's simply very nice to see the different question perspectives from the world. Now we will go on with our agenda, and now it's my very big pleasure to have Marcel Nöller from LUEG here with us. Hello, Marcel. And his talk will be on how an automotive retailer became the sustainable mobility supplier in Germany. And who is Marcel? I will just shortly introduce to him. Marcel studied international. Hi, Marcel. Marcel studied international management in Frankfurt and as well in China. I think I pronounced the name of the city right, Qingdao. He founded his first company at the age of 18. Then he joined to Fahrzeugwerke LUEG AG as a process consultant. After the successful sale of the company shares, he took over the position of head of project management office at Fahrzeugwerke LUEG AG at the age of 21. Since then, Marcel has accompanied and developed various kinds of projects in the fields of process digitization, software integration, integration of new automotive brands, electrification of corporate fleets, major constructions in Essen or AMG Brand Center. He invested in the tech startup User Mobility and founded the mobility business unit, LUEG Basecamp, in 2019. Today, LUEG employs around 3,000 people and generates a turnover of around 1.5 billion euros. The turnover of Basecamp division, for which Marcel is currently responsible for, is already in 7 figures after 1 year of operation. Marcel had just completed his Master of Business Administration of Management at WHO Otto Beisheim School of Management. And it was my pleasure to be the second reviewer of this very interesting master degree. And yeah, so you see, dear participants, that Marcel is the right person to talk about the business models and their innovation, especially in mobility sector today, which is the key topic for today's lecture. Marcel, for you, we have at this moment around 40 participants from all over the world, from the USA, Brazil to Zimbabwe, South Africa, and to Singapore. So it's really very interesting then also to get the perspective on your talk. Please be active, write also in chat your questions. I will try to moderate them in a fair way. Marcel, you have the word.
Amazing. Thank you for having me and thank you for the introduction. I'm really glad to present in front of you because I was sitting on the other side of the bench I would say a couple of weeks ago. So I just graduated. Thank you for the grade, by the way. It was well appreciated. And I thought, because it's already 3 p.m., you might be interested in having a bit of, or sort of narrative presentation of the company and how we develop the company. Therefore, I created a slide set. It's a bit of a risk because it's not the typical slides that you see. But I try to go through it like very quickly and with a bit of fun, and I hope you will enjoy it. If you have any question, just share in the chat, and I will be happy to answer them in the end. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, we do.
Which would be amazing. Perfect. How an automotive retailer became the sustainable mobility supplier of Amazon Logistics in Germany. Back in the day when I started, what you see in the background wasn't there at all. And I think the journey itself is quite impressive for me if I look back and while I was preparing this presentation. But to start off first, what we were doing before we started the company, so my company, we are quite old. So we are over 150 years old. And we were founded before Mercedes was actually founded. And now we are one of the biggest retailers of Mercedes in Germany and Switzerland, but having also a couple of other brands. So 15 companies, 38 locations, 3 nations, 3,000 employees, and 1.5 billion in revenues, 29,000 vehicles we are selling a year. And we also have, let's say about 250 to 300,000 workshop deals we are closing every year. Why I'm showing that? Because that's a very boring slide itself. I think we have some kind of relevance in the market in Germany as well as in Switzerland, and that was the foundation to build up what's today present. And why logistics and mobility services? This is absolutely something different. So we are a retailer. We are selling cars. We are conducting workshop go-throughs. And mobility services, is that not a trend we are facing? Actually not, because we felt somebody had a problem when we started with. Actually, this is one of our cars, and this is quite drastic in terms of damage. You see, this is a typical car from the cab industry, so Courier, Express, Parcel, which includes DHL, Deutsche Post in Germany, but Royal Mail also, and Amazon Logistics. And this guy was driving for Amazon Logistics, and he honestly made it to jump over the river, and it's two meters 2 meters in depth and 4 meters in wide, and he's still crushed into the house wall. And that was the beginning of thinking about damages and how to steer a logistical fleet, because we also saw growth potential and sustainability. Sustainability is a great driver if you want to enter a market, and growth potential is something great you are seeking for if you want to somewhat found a corporation. And we saw that there are 2.3 billion parcels delivered in Germany, which is already huge. And we were thinking about, hey, how could that develop in the future? And we saw today, or let's say yesterday, in 2019, a year-over-year growth of 16.7%. So at least in the Amazon era. And in 2020, it was 100% compared to 2010. So 10 years, 100% growth. I think which normal branch can or normal business model can accomplish that. And we are expecting 78% growth over the next 10 years. So it's continuously growing and growing and growing. And this is one of the major points what we see today in last mile logistics is a massive standardization of the processes. However, a great impact of sustainability, a financial risk, and this financial risk is consolidated on large players in the market, but they are contracting subcontractors, which add more complexity to it, but still facing the problem of sustainability. And by focusing on that, we were founding the company. Now we are 2 years or 1.5 years on the market, 70 employees, and we also have 1,200 vehicles, and which of those are 435 EVs. And I think that's quite impressive share. And after Amazon themselves, after Deutsche Post themselves, I think we are the third biggest mobility fleet supplier with EVs in the German market. And we are doing ourselves 10,000 repairs. And what is interesting is in the background. Annie knows the picture because I'm quite proud of it. That is the work of 5 weeks, I would say 9 to 9, so 24 hours working, because you see different things on this picture. First, you see vehicles. So every dot is a vehicle almost. Second, in the spine of the parking spaces, you see charging infrastructure, which just became, at the time where we were building it, the biggest connected charging infrastructure in the world. And nobody had a clue, including me, the one who was building it, how it would turn out in day-to-day operations. And you have, with the vehicle associated, the guy you remember with the wall and the river, a lot of repair and maintenance. But you also receive all of those three things, out of those three things, a lot of data, which you can use to predictively analyze and steer your fleet. But by employing that much vehicles, we just figure out something. We just saw Houston, we have a problem. And this problem is Amazon also facing. You have warranty losses, you have yearly rising insurance premiums, you have a residual value which is absolutely in risk because you have subcontractors which are damaging the vehicles and not repairing them. You have a neglect of maintenance, and you have let's say no traceability of repairs, lead time costs, or at least process costs. So it's a dramatic disaster with high cost affiliate to that, and also a huge growth potential. So your problem gets bigger over time and not getting smaller. And out of those points, we were focusing on the lifetime of the vehicle. Where does it start? It starts with infrastructure. It goes over vehicles. It goes to the service network somewhat because the vehicles gets damaged, and you have the data. And to do so, those are basically our key business units. We just thought about something crucial, which are the rules if you want to get into such a business. And that's, I think, the basis why we are now working for Amazon, I think one of the fast moving and biggest companies in the world. The rules are quite easy. You see in the background a lot of data. It looks amazing, and you can draw a lot of insights out of it, but it's true, nobody likes complexity. Second rule, everybody likes detailed data. So that's somewhat of a problem together, but if you try to get through it, you will be very successful. High quality and low prices are sexy. Search for the challenging environment, and I will come back to that later while driving through our business models and showing how these rules could be adapted. And as a corporate startup, use the core competencies even if it hurts. That means, as a young guy as I am, ask the old guy for advice, and that hurts sometimes. Believe me, I felt it. And be fast, be safe, be sure, and be explorative. So just search and strive for new ways you can go with your business model. Long story short, you remember, searching for challenging environment, infrastructure, energy suppliers, vehicles, car manufacturer, service network, OEM network, and platform and data tech startup. So I think we had quite of a challenging start because everybody was bigger than us, everybody was better than us, and everybody had at least more experience. And therefore we thought, let's be clever and focus on the things you know. Because we are an OEM network partner, so we are one of the biggest Mercedes, Volvo, and Ferrari dealers. Network, so service network, will be super easy, we guessed. And then we started off with that. And we thought, shit, we actually took the most complex one. And however, we chose the fifth rule, so we used our core competencies. So we were focusing on damage management, repair services, predictive maintenance, billing and proceeding. So we more or less were getting into the first step of the value chain and take the simulation to the end of the value chain and try to make it better. But nobody likes, as I said, complex data, and therefore you put it on a platform everybody can follow. And rule 1 was accomplished. So that is quite the basis. We are today delivering to Amazon, to DHL and Deutsche Post, and you see they even earn money with this process because it's so slim and it's so perfectionized and so digital that you can save money during the process, and this is also like a huge advantage. Focusing on another topic, after having the network, we thought, okay, where does it begin? Where can we somewhat get a competitive advantage? Let's build infrastructure. And infrastructure is somewhat the main topic of energy suppliers. And we start off by building Amazon sites. So we were planning Amazon sites, and how is that looking? This is actually a site. You can't see where are the walls, where is the roof, where are the parking spaces. I make it easy for you. This is a refurb building, so it's already constructed, and these little spaces are all parking spaces and chargers. So understand the technical background, because everybody likes detailed data, especially if you want to go for the construction of such a building. But, and that's the point, nobody likes complexity. Even though we are understanding those graphics, nobody really thinks it's sexy. And we thought, hey, Amazon, we are an automotive retailer. However, we are now planning your EV installation within your delivery centers or delivery stations, but we can do that sexy. So this is a 3D model we were designing out of this project, and EV just became tangible, not a dot on a little plan, but more than that. And the construction managers got familiar with it, and they were coming back and back and back because it's easy, and we were explorative. For instance, truck charging, easy thing, we already discovered that. Then vehicles. You remember that guy? I told you he had a problem. And the major problem with vehicles is not the asset itself, so not the vehicle, but more the damage around it. So this car is literally nothing worth anymore, and in a blink of a second. If you drive your normal car, you will see over time that you will lose some value, but this is immediate loss value in a blink of a second. And therefore we developed something. That's this baby. This is a vehicle scanner. So the vehicle drives through this tunnel. The tunnel makes a 360-degree picture of the vehicle, and our algorithm is checking whether there's a damage or not. And you believe it or not, by doing so, we were able to reduce the damage ratio tremendously, and therefore also EVs became more effective. And that's what I proved actually in my master thesis, that if you're driving an electric vehicle, to be more conscious of driving with the vehicle leads directly to a lower damage ratio. And rule number 3, high quality and low prices are sexy. So if you have more money in the pocket in the end of the process, you will be very happy to follow that. And yes, it led to an overall reduction, which we were showing here, and everybody likes detailed data at the end. Last but not least, platform and data. Search for challenging environments. I think tech startups are also quite familiar to our working environment, quite fast-paced, good finance. They're having amazing people, but nobody was as quick as we by somewhat connecting these 3 points. And we built our own platform, which is looking more or less like this, or like that's an abstract of it. And we were fast and we were safe and sure, because we could determine what we are doing with our fleet in due course, in order to take the right decision at the right moment. So it's all about taking the right decision in the right timing. And by closing it, and I hope you understand why we were successful in onboarding Amazon, without driving too deep into the definitions of our business model, which also includes, for instance, bikes and micromobility, exchange points, and so on and so forth, because we said be explorative. I would like to show you a little video and close with that the presentation, and then be ready for your questions. I hope you can hear it, otherwise have fun.
I still can't hear, Marcel.
I think it's not important to hear.
Okay.
I just think the image is not. Where are we heading? I think for every startup, we are heading for Europe first, and then we try to enter also the US market. However, I think Europe is quite a step to go. And now we already made Germany, we are close to Netherlands, and yeah, Q&A.
Thank you so much, Marcel, for your very interesting presentation, and especially giving some motivation for the young people to be fast, furious, or whatever you have called it. Quite inspiring. Thank you very much. There are some questions coming in. One is from Pakistan, asking, or not asking, but stating that in a developing country like Pakistan, e-vehicles are still cost effective. Do you really mean cost effective, or Marcel, would you like to comment on this?
I don't know the exact infrastructural basis in Pakistan, to be honest. By assuming that you have to invest a lot of EV preconditioning, so mid-voltage installations, as well as sufficient power supply over various also decentralized locations, I believe it's not at the moment a suitable basis in order to go full EV.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest.
Okay. By the way, just a comment from Moti, great presentation. From Kuswei Young from Singapore, are you investing into autonomous vehicles as well?
Somewhat. That's quite an interesting question, because we just used to work together, or we just started off with a big insurer who was very, very interested in how a damage ratio will differ if you have, for instance, half automized vehicles, so at least braking in hazardous situations. And also having, like, for instance, the DAAD angle notification in the mirrors, and so on and so forth. And so the study is not fully completed, but we already see some benefits towards those systems. Investing in fully automized vehicles is currently not the case, because normally you have it first in the passenger vehicles and then going into commercial vehicles, and we have just no technical background or technical basis to do so, and we are not a production company, so that's up to the OEM to introduce it to the market, and then 100% sure we will do it. Do we believe that fully automized, as Amazon already presented and UPS already did, is the future for European cities? We strongly doubt that, but driving will in the future not be a matter of the driver, but of the vehicle, and we are strongly convinced that that will happen.
Okay, thank you so much, Marcel. It brings me to my question, actually, because you have talked about the future in European cities, and my question was going to be a pessimistic one, for instance, but you as a startup or a company already know that being prepared for the worst is the good thing to do right now. So the question would be, what do you think? Just imagine a scenario in the future of European cities that we do not have any vehicles on the streets. Just imagine. What would be your business case?
I've looked into different or various scenarios already. In the north of Germany, there's a project where you have an underground tunnel under the Elbe. These guys were approaching us, and we're asking if we can work together. You also know Duck Train, I guess, Annie? Duck Train is from the RWTH Aachen, which is a fully autonomous train driving behind the bicycle. That definitely will come. And I can give a little insight. We are preparing with Amazon for Europe a great campaign which is focusing on micromobility, and we expect that we will count a 4-digit number of bicycles, or at least pedelecs, in the end of 2022, using that framework to establish that as well in other European countries, especially the UK, and then having a quite tremendous share of bikes in the cities, and that's due to literally two facts: profitability, because I was thinking that's not the case, to be honest. But so if a bicycle is driving two routes, a route is when you delivering those packages you have on the bicycle to each doorstep and then coming back to the exchange point. If you do that twice, you will get a utilization of 120% the capacity of that what you are able to achieve with a van. That's the first thing, and the second thing is it's quite an Amazon thing to do, and also a DHL thing to do, or DHL Express. Be on the doorstep of your customers. They want to see every branded bicycle in the very front of the stationary retail, and show their dominance to the retail that they can deliver sustainable until the customer's doorstep, and they want to have that connection to the customer as well as the data. And I think that's quite an impressive thing to see. And by building up this entire concept in micromobility, there are a lot of difficulties to establish that, because also producers are quite small in comparison to OEMs.
Thank you very much, Marcel. There are some more questions, 3, but I would take one of them. Yeah, just like, what is your organization motto as the rules of your organization, how it makes your organization profitable?
Did I understand correctly? What is the motto is the first question, and the second one, how do we get profitable? Okay, the motto. Exactly. I really have to be honest. We are still working on the motto. We were just starting off, and in this year our growth was so big, we just neglected that point, and that will be definitely a crucial strategy point we'll focus in January. We have it on the agenda, I think, still August, and it's crucial to align all your colleagues on one mission. And I think the underlying motto we are following right now is making sustainable last mile logistics in a very professional and more profitable way for our customers. I think that's a key saying. Yeah, I think that's a key saying. And second, how are we profitable? We have different types of revenue streams. So first, we have the rental business where we're renting out our vehicles. So this is comparable to Avis, Hertz, or for instance, Sixt. Nevertheless, we are also having some additional benefits around those vehicles, which will reduce the overall cost. And this is not only a benefit to our customer, so damage costs, but also to us, because we lower the insurance premium and so on and so forth. We're taking a little cut out of that, additionally to the mobility fee. Then we have the infrastructure, where we are just constructing or we're just like a construction company. That we have different types of financing models. So yeah, lease and buy back, or a renting model, or we have project related yeah, somewhat offers we are giving out to our customers. Then we have the entire service network, where we are taking a cut of the yeah, entire repair cost, which is very, very small. However, we are reducing the overall repair cost, because we are double checking the cost appraisals by our workshops. So if you have a cost appraisal of, for instance, $1,000 or euros, we are cutting those appraisals from the workshop to 800, ensuring a volume over the year. So we are saying you're not getting one workshop go through for 100, but we are going for 20 or 30. So you see the volume, but therefore we have to cut you down. Also, this appraisal is not really correct. And we are saying, okay, we are invoicing to our customers 820, 830. So we're taking a share of that, which is absolutely sufficient if you do it remotely and you have very, very lean processes. And last but not least, data insurance, we are taking a cut out of the decrease of the insurance premium.
I have an idea about your motto, but we can talk about it later if you are still searching for. Another question coming from Laura. She's asking about parking options to make them more sustainable. Are there any alternatives?
Laura, what do you mean concretely? You mean parking spaces utilization that you're going for instance, multimodal traffic, so that over the daytime Amazon, DHL, or UPS is taking the vehicle, and in the nighttime the newspaper or the bakery is taking that same vehicle, or what do you mean?
I think before asking Laura to clarify herself, I think she is addressing the plot, so kind of the land use changes probably. But Laura, you can clarify if you wish.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me? It's because by the video and by the images, I saw that the cars parked in the warehouse, they took a good portion of the land. And we can see that there are trees around, but the land itself, at least I live in Brazil, it looks very hot. And considering like the cities we normally see, we have huge spots dedicated only for parking lots. So I was curious if there was any other option that can mix with green alternatives to the parking lots, maybe to the material used to reduce like heat or something like that, like more possibilities of green options.
Understood. I think in the occupation of land, it's not, or you have the ability to go, for instance, parking garages over multiple levels, levels, which we already did. With regards to asphalting, we do not have a solution. However, and I think that's something very technology driven, which makes it more sustainable, because we strongly believe in low voltages over a large amount of vehicles. So don't go into into a peak situation where your energy consumption is rising, because most of especially developing countries can't provide those energy levels. We are thinking about batteries saving the energy in the meantime and giving it back to the grid. That is something which makes it definitely more sustainable in terms of energy consumption, as well as vehicle to grid, grid to vehicle. So you have a large battery park at least there, and you can use it in order to like somewhat nivellate, I don't know, like balance the overall energy consumption in your neighborhood. And if you go then on car parks over 3 or 4 levels, I think you have a stationary power pack in your city, which you can utilize not only for mobility but also for energy distribution within the quarter yourself. I think that is a thing. And on top, you can build a roof on the parking space in order to gather some photovoltaic energy. So PV.
Thank you, Marcel. And there is the last question. I know we are running some time, but the question I found quite interesting, coming from Wei Ching. Thanks for this wonderful presentation. Once again, as an undergraduate student, for me, I wonder how to be explorative while we are living in a generation that most of the things have already been done. Do you have any suggestion for a student to keep learning new things? Thank you.
As an undergraduate, I strongly believe that you still have a lot of choices by at least working while you do so. Go to an NGO and you find so many problems and so many issues around this value chains that you can easily pick a topic and get yourself involved. As I said, for instance, the answers I was giving in terms of sustainability of parking spaces, those things are not explored at any circumstances. So those are concepts. Those are not in line with the general accomplished standards in the industry. And therefore, if you want to contribute there, I think you will find a lot of job opportunities directly hitting in those areas, and you can definitely make an impact there. And you will ever be employed. So you can really screw up, you will ever find a job. So you don't have to mind.
Thank you so much, Marcel. It was my pleasure having you here with us. We have learned quite a lot. Thanks for your time, especially this 10 minutes extension. And now we are free for having some coffee. Thank you so much, Marcel. Hope that everybody is back. It would be fantastic if you could give a sign or a live sign that everybody is back. Yeah, I see some videos turning on. That's great. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we are moving forward, and our next guest speaker in the session of business model innovation in transport and mobility is going to be Leila Voinkovic. She is representing the PARKLAB as a key content manager, where she has been working since 2021, and she has studied marketing and communication strategies. Her talk today is going to be on smart city, intelligent parking management. Leila, the work is yours. We are very much interested and devoted to see and to listen to your presentation, and we are very much sorry for being 10 minutes late. We have just had some issues in the beginning, and therefore sorry, and thank you for your flexibility. We are very much looking forward to listening to smart city solutions from PARKLAB. I will stop sharing so that you can share your own presentation.
I hope you can see that.
It's coming in. Yes, now it's there.
Okay. Okay. My name is Leila Voinkovic, and today I'm going to present you the company I'm working for, named PARKLAB Technology. These are the 4 opportunities you can contact us. Some general facts, let's start with them. PARKLAB was founded in the year 2020 with the headquarters in Duisburg and with 16 employees. We are selling IT hardware and software as well. We are dealing with intelligent parking management, and smart city is the idea or the aspect our business idea is based on. The reasons for our founding is our founders live in Duisburg, Mülheim, Ruhrgebiet in general, and there's very much traffic always, and stop and go, high emissions of carbon dioxide, congestions are the consequences of it, logically, and this leads to seeking for parking spaces for a long time. The statistic in the next slide shows that in Germany, a reduction of 80.7% has already been arrived of carbon dioxide emissions. Let's start with the hardware. CarLab and TruckLab, these are 2 parking sensors we are offering. The aspects of the coincide. Besides the height, of course, the trucks are high constructed and need a special sensor. And about the PARKLAB sensor, it's able to endure up to 28 tons, trucks of 82 tons. Another sensor we are offering is PARKLAB. It has the aim of a factory traffic guidance, and it's guiding trucks through their appropriate factory premises. Only trackers and PARKLABs are necessary, so you don't need your smartphones or iPad or something else. The tracker, you can see here, is attached to the passenger's door, and by means of a magnet, a special magnet, and the PARKLAB, this one, is attached to the road signal that tells you in what direction you have to go or have to turn. And the driver, the sensor tells the driver 10 meters before turning, you have to turn to the left or to the right. And next one. So now we are going to forward with the software. Let's start with the dashboard. It's just an overview of the equipped equipped parking spaces. Yeah, this is an example of 10 parking spaces. Red stands for occupied, green for free, and orange for exceeded parking duration. And our app is another software we are offering that checks if the parking cars are adhering the special parking duration, and if the driver exceeds the maximum parking duration, the responsible employees for parking surveillance are they will get a message on their phone. For example, parking space 5 has exceeded, I don't know, the parking time of 15 minutes. It's just an example. This is the process, how the sensor works. This is an example with the PARKLAB sensors. That means after a car has entered the parking lot, it will transmit it immediately by the responsible LoRaWAN gateway. It's something like a Wi-Fi router. It's a wireless connection within all these sensors. And the registered parking lot data will that the sensor has recorded are converted immediately to the LoRaWAN gateway, as I already said, with a radius of 1 kilometer. Yeah, our business model, we are tendering that you can rent our sensors, purchase or lease. It depends on the company, if it's a large company, medium-sized or small company. These are 2 examples of our real projects. First of all, the German city Dormagen and Berlin. In both cities, we have equipped 8 sensors there, but it's and they are satisfied with it. We haven't got any complaints or something else yet. So it's going to go forward with them. Our goals we want to achieve is, first of all, the internationalization, especially in Europe. Then we want to achieve the market leadership here in Germany, because here are also 2-3 suppliers of parking sensors. And the innovative creation of mobility and logistics. The statistic shows that it's very attractive, the market of smart mobility. So we are good in it. Yeah, thanks for your attention. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate.
Thank you very much, Leila. It was very nice to see what is happening in parking system, because from the previous presentation from Marcel Nöll, I had the feeling that participants are very much interested into new or innovative methods of parking management systems, which was a very nice kind of additional point from the next or on the previous presentation. And it's not only my feeling, but also the first comment coming from the participant Moti. He says also it's a great presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from participants? Do you think this kind of technology could work in your countries? By the way, before you think of this question, which I have raised, Leila, we have a question from Wei Cheng. He asks, how will 5G technology change the system of parking management?
To be honest, we haven't really dealt already with 5G. We're currently dealing just with smart city, but 5G, it's not a topic in our company yet, but we will think about it.
Yeah, exactly. That was the question further coming in. Is there any? Or Hang Song, I think you started to type a question. Is the LiDAR battery supported?
Yes, it is. Magnet and LiDAR batteries. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Good. Yeah, it's very nice. Then the other question, are there some satellite pictures also being used, coming from me?
Okay.
What kind of a proxy you used for market leadership?
I think he or she means the marketing strategy we're currently using, or
Moti, probably you could clarify, Moti, your question.
Yeah.
Moti? Yeah. Are you coming in?
Moti, you can just turn on your microphone and just talk.
No, it doesn't seem to work. Probably Moti has some problems with micro, but I guess simply what would be a market leadership model you are following?
We are currently doing acquisition. That means we are looking for cities, municipalities, or also private companies like supermarkets, drugstores, hospitals. If they are already interested in smart city, if they have already dealt with it, if they generally know what it is, and if we see there's a match, or if we think it's a match, we also call them and ask them if they're already using a system, and if not, if they would be interested in it. And it's always different. They are, they not, and if they are, we also send them an email with our brochure or prospect, or with all detailed, where's everything explained in detail, with the sensors, how it's worked with LoRaWAN gateway and something else. Yeah.
Then I have a question for you. my question would be, is there kind of a cope system with the other parking management applications out there? For instance, I'm using in a private basis BMW parking management system, which is already integrated in the car. And in that case, are there compatibility with the other systems? That was going to be my question.
The problem is that I can't really answer the technical questions because I'm not from the IT department. The people from the IT department are already gone. That's the problem.
But no problem. My question was not going into the technical part, but for instance, just imagine I'm using the PARKLAB app. Is it also considering already the parking system of the other cars, private cars and private other systems, which show me the real-time difference on parking management system?
Okay.
That is what I was going to ask.
Yes, it shows you, I don't know, for example, you are in Frankfurt, in the center of Frankfurt, and you're looking for a parking space. We all know it's a huge city, much traffic. You type in your location where you currently are, and the app will calculate it for you, all the free parking spaces that are in the near of you. And it also can happen that another car already achieved the free parking space, and that's no problem because if you haven't achieved the parking space yet, if someone else has already entered the space, the system will recognize it and will calculate it again so that you can see other free parking spaces, and yeah, it's very flexible.
Okay, very nice. And therefore, I was also going to ask whether this system could also work in other countries like Switzerland, because you know exactly there, for instance, in Zurich, you might have a huge problem with parking spaces with the blue zone and so on, whether this kind of policy frameworks are also kind of there included. Okay, do I have an idea about how much do your park management optimize the use of parking space? So I think the optimization of the entire parking lot is going to be the question.
Yes, as I already said, it shows the responsible employees for parking surveillance how much someone, for example, exceeds the parking duration, the maximum parking duration, and they are then able to go specifically to the parking space. They don't have to go to the through one. I don't know if they are 500 parking spaces. It's much easier that they see what parking spaces are, which parking spaces are exceeded or not. We also had the case that they could see, one client of us could see on the on the dashboard, for example, what was it? Parking space 7 and 9. Nobody really used them, and then they decided to make green plants on it. Also, yeah, to increase this sustainable aspect of smart city.
Okay, thank you. There is another question, better to say 2 questions, coming from Ku Swen Yong. Will your system allow autonomous vehicles to park by themselves, so connection to autonomous vehicles? And the second one is, can you name some of the major competitors out there?
Okay, our system doesn't allow autonomous vehicles yet, but we're still talking about it. But if it will work, we will see. I don't know. It's not very safe yet. And the names of the major competitors are, first of all, Bosch, and what was it? Smart City Systems and Clever City. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say about Bosch system, and exactly this camera surveillance system coming from Bosch is actually yeah, working especially in the North American region, and we are going to have another talk, interestingly, from a competitor. So that's interesting to see that we have yeah, kind of seen the market out there. Okay, so yeah, I think Hu Young also is satisfied with the answer. And if there are no questions coming in, we have already taken exactly 30 minutes of your time, Leila. I thank you very much. And now you are free to enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And enjoy
Thank
your
you.
weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, everybody. So we have received again so many interesting inputs from the business model innovations. And before we go into your presentations, into your active part, I would like to go on with my presentation. If you remember, I have started, I hope that you remember, I have started at 2 p.m. with business model innovations. And I would like just to take probably some 15 to 20 minutes time to give you the insights on corporate social responsibility, and then give you some examples of the best sustainable business models out there, internationally best known, and then we will go into the business model canvas. I will show this as a hands-on tool for you if some of you might think to answer the questions, which are actually the basics for your working group. If you consider also coming up with interesting, innovative, sustainable business model ideas so that you can fill in this business canvas model as well.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted,
Sure.
Now she's offline. I just wanted to say that we should take a photo with Leila, but now she's offline, I think. Too bad. But
Yeah,
sorry
she's
for the
already out.
interruption.
No problem at all. I think from my side, it's no problem. I hope that it's also no problem for her side. Good. So let me share my presentation with you once again. And now quite an open question. I would like you to recall the slides I have shared with you today. And if you have any questions based on this, you can already ask them. If not, we will go on with the with corporate social responsibility. Do you have any questions? Okay, if it's not the case, we will go on with a set with transformation process towards sustainable economies, and we stay within current economic system. And here we address the third point, corporate social responsibility, CSR. Especially here, I would like to share the sustainability criteria at corporate level with you. But firstly, let us define what is it. The corporate social responsibility, in short, CSR, describes the company's efforts focused on creating and maximizing long-term economic, social, and environmental value. It's very important to highlight here the long-term effect. As well as it is a response to the challenges of the modern world facing organization from the public and private sector. So this corporate social responsibility can be used or is used not only from private sectors, but as well as public sectors, which is actually the feedback to the current challenges on climate change or biodiversity loss and so on. What are the CSR benefits? Taking the World Business Council on Sustainable Development source, it states that understanding the risks and opportunities that an ecosystem provide for a business will be the key to the success in a more carbon and resource constrained world, and therefore will significantly contribute to future public policy decisions in order to combat not only biodiversity loss, but also the global climate change problems. So ultimately, there are several benefits. I have taken 4 of them with me today. The first one is the reduction of operating costs due to more effective resource management. And this resource management should happen across the entire supply chain of your business model. Secondly, effective economic, social, and environmental risk management is happening. You remember, I have told if you have a sustainable business model, you might become more resilient in the future. Business stability relying on good relations with the key stakeholders. So if you have good corporate social responsibility strategies, this would attract the key stakeholders and not only attract new ones, but also keep the relationships with them quite stable. Last but not least, these relationships are also very important when it comes to the end customers. Therefore, building loyalty and trust of the customers through a dialogue and engagement is one of the key benefits also from the corporate social responsibility. In general, we can say that CSR helps to create the organization's long-term value based on innovation as well as intellectual and relation capital. So we have seen on the left-hand side that there are some tangible benefits from the CSR, and it is cleverly encouraging companies to take action to get one step ahead of the competition. So it provides the competitive advantage. There are tangible benefits out of it. However, it is very important to highlight that some of the companies are doing greenwashing, and which is very well documented into CSR reports. And therefore, actually, the key message is here that CSR imperative should be essentially a moral one. And this is very important to highlight. So here, many corporate social responsibility reports are dealing with CO2 or generally carbon emissions, or when it's quite well written, then basically on water footprint. But if you once again recall the definition from the World Business Council, then it states to combat biodiversity loss. And therefore, we are highlighting here as well the ecosystem service. I think Leila has asked a very good question to Marcel, asking about the land use changes. And generally, which is having the highest impact on ecosystem service, which this aspect is very often neglected when it comes to sustainability aspects, especially in environmental system. Therefore, I have taken this chart with me today because to my mind, CO2 is very less to handle with. So we need to have the ecosystem service overview, especially when it comes to the biodiversity as well. What is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is a community of living organisms in conjunction with the non-living components of the environment, which interact with each other within a system. Basically, ecosystem service has 4 basic services to our life. The first one, it provides food, fresh water, food and fiber fuels to us, to larger communities. So therefore, it's the basic source for our resources. The second one, the second function is regulating function of ecosystem. So it regulates the climate, disease, or water purification in a natural way, I mean. The third function is the cultural function. We have, with good functioning ecosystem service, aesthetic, educational, and recreational profits. The fourth one is surely supporting function, because with photosynthesis, we have the carbon uptake from the atmosphere, but also we have the soil functioning, like for building or urban systems, and as well as the nutrient cycle. And the second aspect is biodiversity, which is the variability among living organisms from all sources and the ecological complexes of which they are part, including diversity within the species and within the ecosystems. So those two, the biodiversity as a part of ecosystem, plays the key role at all levels of ecosystem services. We call them hierarchy. Therefore, any change or any kind of disturbance of this ecosystem might be defined as environmental degradation, which is actually a global challenge. Therefore, one of those, for instance, could be the habitat destruction or extinction of wildlife, air pollution, or carbon emissions. But as you could see, and this is my main message, it's not only about the carbon emission, but it's more about the entire ecosystem functioning in a good way. Therefore, many corporate social responsibility reports just start to address this biodiversity and ecosystem view, a part of the surely carbon emissions. And the challenges for implementing this kind of holistic corporate social responsibility challenges are, first of all, at operational level, because of the coordinated, sustained, and accessible data and services are most of the time missing. Therefore, if this kind of data and services are missing, it's also very difficult to come up with development of robust, viable sustainability monitoring system, which is actually, represents aggregation of measures into a single index. But there are also some company external challenges at strategical and tactical level. Those are the transition research advances into operational system, like capacity building between research and development, as well as the practical operational of end users. There is a lack of broad and effective communication of especially large infrastructure projects towards the local decision makers. And therefore, if there is a communication problem, then it might have a problem with consumer acceptance or efficient political decisions. One of those is surely, as an example, the alternative energy of wind turbines. It seems to be quite good, but some consumers, especially in Germany, like normal citizens, they have the concern that with wind turbines, we might have a problem with birds who are always flying into these wings of the turbine. Therefore, we have some problem of distinction of several habitats of the birds, especially in the northern parts of the Germany. Critical reporting on social and traditional media is very important nowadays, you know, with Corona, with populism or some other fake news are very important to be filtered out before talking about the CSR challenges. But there are also some measures to overcome these challenges. At operational level, we could think of implementation of advanced technologies, like we have heard from Leila or from Marcel, to minimize the impact of companies while taking a holistic view of ecosystem services. And here we have heard from Leila, for instance, they are using LiDAR. There are also some satellite imagery or drones, robotics, blockchain, and so on. The second one is investment in employees training programs, and that was a program or a point which has been highlighted by our first lecturer, Frank Speer, who said that in order to make the transformation in the region happen, we have to think of new educational programs, and this is going to be the key for the long term. Strategic level, the circular economy implementation is very important for the CSR policy. It actually aims to limit the consumption of resources by implementing a closed loop system for both materials and resources. Also, a reduction of the amount of raw materials used in products is important in order to provide recycling services to customers. And that was also a very interesting point coming from Marcel. He has talked about reducing the damage, which is already one of the key principal parts of the circular economy. As well as, last point, campaigns to raise consumer awareness and create new sharing economy models. In Germany, they are starting this sharing mobility trends, but it's not working in the rural areas where actually the mobility service providers don't see the economic viability or the economic case for their services, just because of the population density. So making the point here, the company's sustainability strategy, finance and governance framework has been developed by me, which is being shared here as the sum up of the presentation of this part. So first of all, we need to identify business drivers, create a corporate sustainability vision, and a kind of scope the competitiveness. So know your competitors, as one of you has asked Leila. And then after knowing this, we could go to sustainability strategy key areas along the value chain, which are the primary activities, supporting activities, sustainability governance of the entire organization, as well as sustainability finance. If we know this, we could come up with a good management plan with stakeholder-based management, investor-based corporate sustainability risk strategic map. And as far as you remember, during our very first meeting, I have shared this risk chart with you, as well as external impacts. So be prepared for the worst case. This would bring to strategies and goal settings of the company to build sustainability framework, governance, strategy and goals, finance, value chain advantages, as well as return on sustainability strategy might be then clearly evaluated. If you have done all this, the next step would be logically, just like in any transformation process, to come up with an action plan, to define the detailed goals and break down those, implement monitoring and review tools, surely stakeholder engagement processes, sustainability communication platform, as well as sustainability reporting. If we stay on sustainability reporting, as far as you remember, at 2 p.m. I have shown you the one of the key problems, which was internalization of externalities, and I have shown and I have said that I'm going to take this under the loop and show you what are these externalities, and exactly these externalities, knowing them and monitoring them, would bring us to sustainability reporting in a right way and not into just greenwashing. Tu and Wang in 2015 from Japan, they came up with additional costs in green accounting. So actually, if you want to become green or you want to make your business green, you would have 86 additional costs in green accounting. Just imagine 86. Those would be on production factors, but also on non-production factors. If we take the production factors, those are related to product and R&D, like the external production costs, clean production, zero pollution, redesign of the production process and packaging, development of environmentally friendly products. Those would be then the costs. The non-product factors are actually related to environmental requirements, like based on environmental concerns or life cycle assessment to reduce these environmental impacts, as well as the social requirements, which are actually showing the extension of CSR and a reduction of resource waste, implementing, for instance, 3R policy. Here you see the list. If you remember, 86 costs are coming. Don't pay attention to the factor. You can read the literature. It starts with monitoring or testing costs in law and environmental tax, voluntary addition to cost to make improvements, loss from damaging natural resources, and then the list is long, and so on. So it's really huge list to take into account for green accounting. And if we just categorize those for the product, actually 18.6% of the entire additional costs will be related to. 8.1% are related to R&D projects. 38.4% are related to environmental requirements, and 25.6% for social requirements. So the basic part is going to indeed to environmental requirements. That was all I wanted to share about the current economic system. Now I would like to go to some case studies. It won't take longer than 5 minutes. Here I would like to show the IKEA case of the code of conduct, and the key of their businesses, or the core, is going to be sustainable businesses, and therefore they started with the suppliers. So they said that exactly the expectations between IKEA and suppliers should be quite clear, which are then national politics regulations, environmental management, accordance with the international conventions, working conditions, and child labor. They have thus developed a staircase model, starting from level 1, which is kind of a very comparable to the startup requirements and the action plan, which then brings us to the level number 2, fulfillment of minimum requirements. And then the third one, then supplier environmental requirement. And then the fourth one is the ISO standard 14001. And obviously for environmental standards, we see the first one, and for social and working conditions, the down part of the staircase model, starting from no child forced labor towards social and working condition requirements, towards better conditions, and then future official standards to be implemented. The other action or good case of sustainability in business models I have taken from a retailer, basically of food, Rewe from Germany. It says that to act in a sustainable way should mean to take a responsibility for future generation. And here, what is interesting, they are talking about the green products. So basically the products which they are selling should be from region bio products. The employees, the employee management, and their treatment should be with the fair social conditions. They are using energy and climate ecosystems, just like photovoltaic on their retail stores, or societal engagement, planting trees. The next good case is sustainability ThyssenKrupp. We have heard from Frank Speer about the ThyssenKrupp, and they say that sustainable efficiency is related to the product's employees, as well as references according to CO2. And their ultimate goal is to move people worldwide. They develop innovative mobility concepts for today and tomorrow. With modern products, they make the daily life more comfortable. Probably you have heard of ThyssenKrupp elevators, and this is the most sustainable program they have acknowledged, which makes sustainability in the core of the everyday business. The next example is Henkel. Probably you are using in everyday life the products of them, like Persil, Taft. They have the ultimate vision to become the global lead with brand and technologies. And their values are to put the customers in the focus of the business, value, challenge, and support the employees, target for great economic and sustainable success, and be responsible to stay in a leading role within sustainability. And last but not least, the future is because of basic successful family company. Having said this, I would like to go to a business model canvas, and I will give you this as a hands-on tool to develop your own vision and strategy. You could do this surely based on the questions you are working already on as a focus group, sorry, as a working group. And then you might apply for this vision and strategy if you come up with interesting business ideas based on the business model canvas. The management criteria are here: the shipment tracking, quality management, staff qualification, just-in-time delivery, risk management, special storage. This management criteria bring to the factors influencing logistic chain, like the consumer requirements, recycling methods, environmental protection. Doing these factors, it brings us to the scenarios of possible fluctuations, like what might happen if policy changes, what will happen if one of these factors changes, or the combination of the factors changes. And then this would bring to an ultimate goal on sustainability accounting models, like what kind of models do you know, which of those are reasonable, and what data do we need in order to come up with this kind of models. So basically the business model canvas is starting with the very first question, and this is the most important. For whom are we creating value? Who are our most important customers? So the very specific customer segmentation is very important. The second one is, what value do we deliver to the customer? Which one of our customers' problems are we helping to solve? So first of all, you need to understand the problems. What kind of problems are out there? Very clearly, which customer needs are we satisfying? So not only the problems, it might be also as well as need. What bundles the products and services we are offering to each customer segment? Yeah, so the value creation is answering all these questions. If you have answered these questions, you have to answer the next question, which is then, through which channels do our customer segments want to be reached? And obviously, how are we reaching them now? How are our channels integrated? Which ones work the best? Which ones are the most cost efficient? And how are we integrating them with customer routines? The next question is dealing with the relationship with the customer segments. So how do we want to keep this relationship established and then maintain it? Which ones have we established already? How costly are they? And how are they integrated with the rest of the business model? For what value are the customers really willing to pay? So the payment model is very important. For what do they currently pay, and how are they currently paying? How is also ultimate question to be answered. How would they prefer to pay? This is another thing. Probably, especially coming from Corona, you don't want to get in touch with cash. How much does each revenue stream contribute to overall revenues? The next question is, what key resources do our value proposition require? So once you start, you would ask yourself also, what resources do I need? Or distribution channels, customer relationships, revenue streams. The next one is the key activities. What key activities do your value proposition require? The next one, the key partners. If you have the key activities, who would be your key supplier? Which key resources are we acquiring from the partners? And which key activities do partners perform? last but not least are the costs which are inherent with the business model. So which key resources are most expensive, which key activities are most expensive. If you see here the key profit revenues, then here you see the key costs. And this is actually the business model canvas defined by Osterwalder. So here, this one you can use if you would like to work on your own business model. And this is a very interesting and easy exercise just to develop a very good idea, which could be marketed at the end of the day. I would like to stop here and ask you whether you have some questions, which I would be very happy to take with me before we go to the working groups. Are there any questions? In brief,
Hi, Professor.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Hi.
Go ahead.
I am attaching a link into our chat to this furniture brand. Can you see?
Yes.
Do you know this
there.
brand? Yeah. Are they a reliable brand of furniture that lasts a long time?
Obviously, I have to be quite frank. I don't know them.
Okay.
Sonnet. Yeah, I can't really say. Is your question going into the specific direction, or?
I'm asking about IKEA and sustainability, because if you really wanted things to be sustainable, you should be building products that would last a generation or 5 generations, right? Instead, we are building products to be disposable, and yet we are claiming that we are environmentally friendly. The packaging material of IKEA itself, just their packaging material, is already not sustainable, regardless of how many forests they try to plant, right? So I find that these business models, they are inherently hypocritical.
Very good point. Because when you
how do we deal with that?
Right. Absolutely, very good point. So also, if you are so critical, and so am I, if you think of the new startups we have also shared today with you, it's very nice, but ultimately we are not solving a big global problem with those startups. Exactly like you are highlighting the IKEA case. That's for sure. So the thing is, if we think of logistical services, yeah, we can optimize them, we can make them more efficient. But in order to reduce the traffic and therefore the logistical services, it doesn't matter of the efficiency of them. It is the matter of consumption as well. If you are consuming so much from Amazon buying them, so it doesn't matter whether Amazon will send your products with electric vehicles or with any kind of vehicles. The externalities will be there, right? And this is exactly what you have highlighted as well with for the case like Rewe saying they are planting forests. It is not happening. So back to your question, how can we really make this change? I strongly believe it's our decision. The firms cannot really be sustainable. It's us to consume less. And the only thing that the firms could help us, that, as you already said, to build long-lasting products. The rest would not make the change. It's my belief. In brief, we could say sustainability is the ethical background for new technological innovations and future social labor transformation, considering disruptive economic circumstances. Yeah, we could also sum up in that way, Carlos. Thank you for confirming what I'm struggling with. We need to stop over-consuming. Exactly, Coswing. That's what I'm also thinking. Okay, so now DLUEG has told me that if there are no other questions, and I'm obviously here until 10th of December and beyond, we could think of having a look at the videos from our side and from Metropole Ruhr region, and we have also some videos coming from Columbia, from New York. I don't know, Gohar, are you going to share both of them, or Festival is going to take responsibility for at least their video?
I'm going to share our videos. I have two videos. One is like 1 minute and 30 seconds long, and the other one 1 and 15 seconds. If that's okay, I would just play both of the videos, and I hope that Festival can show then the video or videos about New York.
Okay, fine.
Okay, then maybe I can start.
Yes, please feel free.
Yeah, I will share my screen in a few seconds. Give me a sec. Okay.
We're Germany's biggest city. We're an industrial city. And with the world's biggest inland port, we're naturally also a port city. We're a capital of culture. We're the city that never rests. And we're the city that never sleeps. Sorry, New York. We're a city with experts in every field. And we're a university city. With 290,000 students and lots of space for every one of them. But is this here a city at all? Absolutely. We're more than 5 million people, over 150,000 companies, 200 cultures. We are not just one city. We are 53 cities. We are a metropolis. We are the city of cities. Metropolis Ruhr.
Okay, this was the first video, and then
Gohar, before you go forward, could you maximize your screen?
okay, sure.
Yeah, you're close, up,
Yeah.
right? Yes.
Okay, I just have to play the other video.
There are two ways to deal with change. You either hope that one day all will return to the way it was, or you remain open to everything that's coming and everything that may be yet to come, open to new beginnings and to newcomers. Open to going up in the world, open to experts and to experiments, open at 3 at night and at 4 in the morning, open to big dreams, with open minds and open hearts, open for the next big thing, open for you.
And also our logo of the University of Duisburg, Essen, is open-minded. So we are open for almost everything.
That's right. Yeah, well, this were the videos, and I hope that all the participants could get a good overview or a picture of our image of our region. well, then maybe Festival can yeah, share his videos.
Thank you very much, Gua. I could hear your city was throwing some shades at New York, that it's the city that doesn't sleep. All right. Okay, so this is a very cool video with commentary about New York. Let me try to share.
Over the past few years, more and more Americans have been moving out of the suburbs and into the high-density urban cities. This trend is especially pronounced in the state of New York, where nearly half of the population lives in New York. Over the past few years, more and more Americans have been moving out of the suburbs and into the high-density urban cities. This trend is especially pronounced in the state of New York, where nearly half of the population lives in New York City. In fact, New York is one of the most diverse regions in the world, with enormous artistic, political, cultural, and social influence. So we wanted to know, just how powerful is New York? Well, the entire state covers roughly 55,000 square miles, which is a bit larger than Greece, and would rank New York 95th worldwide if it were a country. But New York doesn't even rank that highly in size for the United States, coming in as the 30th largest state. Instead, it is New York's population that's really booming. With nearly 20 million residents in total, it is the third most populous state in the US and would be 58th worldwide. This is partially due to the fact that New York is one of the biggest migrant destinations in the world, with nearly a quarter of the population being foreign-born. New York also contains the largest Puerto Rican population in the US, with a huge portion of Dominican, Jamaican, and Mexican Americans. As one of the financial capitals of the world and the home of Wall Street, it should be no surprise that New York is incredibly wealthy. Their GDP is estimated around $1.5 trillion, barely below Russia and Canada, ranking 12th worldwide. New York's largest export commodity is actually diamonds, followed by gold and jewelry. During World War II, Jewish jewelers in Antwerp and Amsterdam were forced to flee to New York, establishing it as a major hub in the global diamond trade. It is estimated that as many as 90% of the diamonds entering the United States pass through New York. Today, the US has more Jews than any other country besides Israel, and roughly 13% of the Jewish American population lives there. So how does New York protect all that wealth and culture? Well, the New York City Police Department alone has a budget of about $5 billion. That would rank them 40th worldwide in total defense spending. The entire country of Ukraine has about the same defense budget as New York City. The NYPD is the biggest police force in the United States, with more employees than even the FBI. Overall, New York State has nearly 100,000 full-time law enforcement personnel, which is about the size of Australia's entire military. Clearly, New York can hold its own on the world stage, although New York State is propelled there almost entirely by the efforts of New York City. But despite being one of the most influential cities in the world, New York does have its own problems. 1 in 5 New Yorkers suffer from mental health issues, and many allege that the city's police department is plagued with racism and the use of unnecessary force. Still, whether talking about the city or the state, there's no question, New York is mad powerful, B. California comes in as the #1 most populous US state. Learn more.
Yeah, thank you, Festival, for sharing this inspiring video about New York.
Yeah, but I some few comments about some of the claims in the video. It claims New York is the 3rd most populous state in the US. It's not accurate. It's the 4th. Florida is the 3rd. And there is also the claim that New York has the largest portion of Puerto Ricans in the US. That's also a controversial claim. Some consider Puerto Rico as part of the United States. And so if you approach it from that perspective, then the majority of Puerto Ricans can be found in Puerto Rico, not New York. But some also argue that Puerto Rico is officially not part of the 50 states of the US. So if you approach it from that perspective, then the claim is true that New York has the largest population of Puerto Ricans in the United States. So I wanted to make that clarification. Otherwise, it's a fantastic video which talks about the financial, cultural, security, and all the stuff about New York.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Festival, especially for the clarification. And thank you, Gohar, for sharing the fantastic video from Metropole Ruhr area. And to all participants, I can only say it's a big, big pity that we are conducting all this in a digital way. For us, it was very important to bring in the cultural differences and especially these perspectives from Metropole regions, from the USA and Germany into a little bit more socially interactive part. And that is a pity that we could do it only based on videos of in total 7 minutes length. Other than that, we would be enjoying the New York City for a week altogether. But I'm very optimistic that we could go on with this collaboration with Columbia University further on, and that we could make kind of the series of this kind of summer schools happen in every year, hopefully. Okay, thank you so much for your attention, and now it's time to get in with you, and I'm very much interested in the progress you could make on your presentation. And I think here Gohar can help me saying who are in the groups. We have 5 groups as far as I remember.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you if it's okay if I share my screen to show the current group list, so everybody can see it, and maybe let me know if something or somebody is missing or something went wrong. So
and besides that, Gohar, it would be also good if you all participants say yes, that's true, those are our working groups, and also please name the speaker who is going to share the presentation today. Yeah. And now we can start with your presentations, and as far as I understood, the working group 4 is already ready to start.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay, Laura. Sorry, Erica, for confusion. We thought that the number 4 was already ready, and that's why we started with them.
Is it appearing?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. So my group is group 4. I'm Laura, and I'm going to show what we worked so far and try to be brief. To the first question that is related to the state of our technology in the last mile logistics and its concepts and best and worst cases, we understood that we have emerging concepts that need to consider speed, cost, efficiency, and sustainability. So last mile logistics should consider all these factors while also being able to guarantee customer satisfaction. Therefore, we have chosen these 5 points about things that we need to consider as pros and cons. So there needs to be a faster fulfillment, gig economy crowdsourcing apps as a possibility, focus on visibility, insourcing deliveries, and city warehouses. We're still working on it, but we developed these tables in which we have pros and cons for each of these possibilities. So for example, for a faster fulfillment, we have the pros of having same-day delivery. For the cons, we have possible traffic congestion, considering the increase in the number of vehicles. And we have also urban sprawl challenges and also going to rural areas that are more distant. We have crowdsourcing apps, focus on visibility, insourcing deliveries, and city warehouses. When talking about these concepts in our countries, we managed to find, we're still adjusting to have our meetings, which we can gather everyone and talk a bit more about it. But we have realities from Brazil, from the Philippines, from Mexico. And talking about it, in Brazil, we found a paper that gathered some specialists, and they define what are the risks in the last mile deliveries in Brazil area. So 100% of the specialists categorize high-risk area deliveries and receiver not being available as the most important issues in the deliveries. So considering that, we talked about and we considered that pickup points could be a beneficial solution. Also, while talking to another classmate from Brazil, we saw like that deliveries and the model of transportation that now it's mainly highway doesn't offer good possibilities for deliveries. We had recently a stall, like the workers from the railroad, the highway stopped, and it also stopped the economy. People stopped using their cars because they were afraid there would be no gas so they could fill their car, and it became a huge problem. So we gave, for example, the waterway transport that could be a possibility to be used, consider the number of rivers we have, that is only 11% used right now in Brazil. For the Philippines, our member also talked about city warehouse that could really help achieving efficient last mile logistics in the Philippines, even though in some cities it could provide easy access and faster deliveries. And in Mexico, our member also mentioned pickup points and insourcing deliveries. She mentioned COVID and people using more bikes, so it could offer a possibility for deliveries. About the policy framework, we understood that the policy framework needs to have social, environmental, economic, and institutional dimensions of sustainability. So more than something that is a framework that is done privately or in a small scale, it needs to be in a bigger scale that is coordinated with the country and the state and offer good strategic plans to the cities based on their development, because it really differs from a big city to smaller cities that doesn't have much supply or access to some types of technologies. About the greenhouse gas emissions, we're still working on it, so we don't have anything so far, but we were curious about if we could choose one specific city of all of us and work on that specific city other than like one city from each country. And about business models for sustainable last mile logistics, we understood that there needs to be a full cycle supply chain for the business model. So maybe there could be investments in packaging, so the customer could get back the packaging to the business in exchange for favors or something like that. So it could incentive that. And also the adoption of alternative, more sustainable means of transportation. About the concepts that could change the urban systems in the future, I took the liberty of assessing the IGC, that is the International Geodesign Collaboration, which they have done, their participants have done estimates and have chosen projects for predictions for 2035 and 2050. So more than that, we understood that we could have a more independent urban mobility system, and there could be more technology and innovations would develop into a smart city. About the projects, I gathered some. So we could have a built environment that is more networked and smarter. So we would have investments into technologies and geographical systems. We have electric autonomous vehicles, EHV. We have bike shares and e-bikes that could also feature electric bikes or e-bikes that has a battery and electric models. We have integrated transportation and energy infrastructure. I thought this was a really interesting idea, which would use this road pavements and use solar power with it and unite another options for sustainability. And there's also a reflecting coating in roadways that could help reduce the urban heat island, or at least try to do so. And that's our presentation. Thank you very much. I'm very curious about your input, so we can proceed further.
Thank you very much, Laura. It's already going into the right direction, at least to the direction I could hope for. It's very nice. What I could recommend is to think a little bit more globally, thinking of the state of the art, starting from your first slide, where you said those are the 5 global topics, fulfillment and so on. What I would ask myself and you, what are the innovative solutions anywhere on the world on these 5 points, and what is still missing? What could be the next step? So identification of the gaps exactly of this 5 big topics you have already thought of and addressed. The rest I found quite nice that you are going into the best case practices, the last slides you have shared with us, stating about the urban systems, which direction they are developing. And therefore it could be very nice to merge, to kind of combine the innovative gaps on along these 5 topics you have addressed, and put them into the context of the best cases of urban developments you have shared in the last slide. And by the way, I think it's also good if you develop a business model idea that you also concentrate on a single country. The choice would be done based on the data you could get, or the problem which is more pressing. That could be a good choice for a business model. So those are my inputs. Thank you very much. Any kind of other inputs from other groups?
Okay, we are ready.
Erica, you have input for Laura?
Yes, I want to ask her. Hi, Laura. I just want to ask her about the last question. You put a lot of solutions that could implement in the countries, but I don't know which one could be implemented in only one country. I don't know if I understand.
The solutions, they were made by researchers from all around the world. So it's global predictions. I choose them based on last mile logistics, but we still haven't gathered over to see what could be more specific to our specific countries. We choose it in a more general way for globally.
Thanks.
Thank you. By the way, one thing about concerning all the working or participants, not only working groups, it would be very nice as well if you use the strengths of each within the working group, and please see this as well as a working group work, and don't feel alone. Yeah, that would be very nice if there is really good collaboration among you. Okay, if there are no further questions to Laura, by the way, the direction, as I said, is quite good. Go ahead. I think Festival wants to add.
Yeah, I think they are very much on track. I like the ideas that they are, experimenting. But I would agree with you that for the purposes of developing a business model, they try to contextualize it, within a specific city, so that you really could apply whatever you do to, specific situation and problems in a city. And yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, well done. More power to you all.
Okay, thank you. We'll try to do so. I think we need to gather more data from our country so we can show and compare to our proposals. Thank you, but thank you very much for your input.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, working group number 4. Now we will move to working group number 1. Erica, you have the word.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to share.
Okay. Well, so may I share my screen for the group 2?
We are starting it, sorry, with the group number 1.
Okay,
Laura was the group number 4. Yeah, so Erica, go ahead.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to start answering the first question, which everybody knows. Then the last mile logistics seeks to achieve the most efficient methods to ensure the smooth logistics and delivery process. So it includes improvement customers' experience and reduce costs and reduce waste. We saw advantages and disadvantages. So the delivery fast, the customer, we will have customer satisfaction. And the disadvantages could be it could be expensive, also significant waste generated, and also it could be leading to the global warming. Some case of studies that we found is the first one is in Amsterdam. When the mayor of the city of Amsterdam found that vehicles of trucks and vans used to park in city areas. So they decided to implement a policy. And the policy talk about that the inner city will be free of fossil fuels, but the trucks and vans by 2025. So they are going to reach the 42% of reduce of the carbon emissions. So in that way, they are going to reach their goals. And also we found that one solution in China, just where Jun Fan, head of GD Express, he and his equipe is developing solution of using artificial intelligence and big data, and also they use delivery robots and building smart delivery stations. And for the World Economic Forum, they give some strategies like night delivery, use electric vehicles and bicycles and e-scooters. And one of the most important that we found is educate the citizens about sustainable concepts. And the other solution is the double parking area. So we are going to answer the other questions, which is in each country. I'm going to start with my country, Ecuador. And I'm living in Ambato, and we encourage, I believe that the concepts that we could implement is encourage the citizen participation in sustainability programs and projects, also the use of bicycles and electric scooters, and also the night delivery. I would like to introduce a pilot project that here in Ambato implement is Ambato Bike Line. However, they face a lot of barriers. For example, the lack of information about the urban mobility makes the people believe that they are going to lose customers because they don't have parking spaces near their business. Also, the lack of basic infrastructure and advanced technologies. Also, Ecuadorian discouraged about the use of bicycles for the irregular topography and the lack of exclusive bicycle roads. And also people feel insecure using bicycle because here in Ecuador, Ecuadorian crime rate is pretty high. And for the answer about the GHG emissions, I am going to give you for the next. We are going to give you for the next the next presentation. Also, we were talking for my friends from Brazil, and they share of transport. They found that they could implement the share of transport with another cities. For example, Daniel noticed that our companies where the client can buy a lot of quantities of goods with other clients in the same region or neighborhood. So the delivery in the local or small warehouse, so the cost of the goods and transport are reduced. And this is an implementation for the clients who don't care about the speed and prioritize low prices. Also, in Brazil could implement bike deliveries and the use of full truck of goods and do not leave empty spaces. Also, the barriers could be one of the most important, I believe, is the people don't have a good internet connection across the country. They monitor calculated routes for the lack of the technology that we face the developing countries. The next one is in Ghana. They found they could implement route optimization, which involves best pathways, also green transportation, less waste generated, and also they need resources to do all the things. The barriers that they face is unstable network, communication system, and connectivity hiccups. Also, the solid database is unavailable. Those ones are the barriers. For the four questions, we found that the construction of the laws to shape the mobility is so important. Also, the database storage and record keeping, and we need a stable internet connectivity in order to improve and implement those strategies. Also, I found this institutional pillars of logistic and mobility. So I found it in facilitation and transport and travel in Latin America and the Caribbean. And this is a leadership and dialogue mechanism, a legal or institutional framework, which I believe that is pretty important because I educate the people that sustainability is the most important thing. And that's it. This could be our presentation in order to the time. We have more slides, but we want to save the time right here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Erika. It was already a very good impression you have provided to us. Yeah, it's also, I find quite well on the track. It represents exactly the questions or tries to find the answers to the questions we have thought of. The comment would be, it would be really very nice if you kind of also make literature-based statements or probably interviews from industries or wherever when it comes to the barriers from different countries or from your countries, so that we have a good solid ground for the problems or solutions each country or city is providing. At this moment, I think you didn't have it, not to awake a false impression that it's just a stomach feeling. Yeah, that's why it would be very nice to argument those. By the way, the next thing you said about the data, right? You said you are working on data to find those, and it would be really fantastic if you find just a bit on greenhouse gas emissions, but also some other externalities from logistics we have talked about today. Other than that, just keep on working. I think the direction is really good. I think Festival also wants to add.
Yeah, I think you said, everything about it, especially evidence, literature support, right? As you develop, the work, you would want to consider that so that you are able to align what you are doing with what we already know. So you would be able to articulate better the original contribution that you're making with, your work. Otherwise, the direction is great, and I think you have, interesting ideas you would want to present, but then time wasn't available for you to go through interesting slides. Go on and continue to work harder.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I just want to add that I am an architect and I studied urbanism too. And for the reason I focus on this part of here in Ecuador, for example, in this part of the bike line or something like that, because and also the mobility, and for the reason we focus on those strategies too, and than the business models. Sorry for that, rather than the business model.
Okay.
Yeah, we do understand, surely, and that's what I have said today. It's not obligatory to come up with a business model idea, or it's not ultimate goal. It is just an idea to, kind of awaken your entrepreneurial spirit. It's only just a motivation.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the other working groups to Erika and the group number 1? If it's not the case, I would like to thank once again Erika and the work group members of number 1. And now we will move to working group number 2, and Eitan wanted to share his screen. You have the word, Eitan.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. Here we go. Then it's would you see this screen? It's okay for you?
It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Professor and guys and colleagues. And our presentation is a little bit humble than before because we focus on the policies and laws and regulations so far. Then our group members of the group 2 is, as you can see, and this is that we focus on that these questions. For the questions, we focus on that. So, and for the regulations, and that is a remarks here as well. So we study Brazil and China so far, but for the advice of the professor, we put focus on one it. But for the Brazil and the regulations and the policies, it's kind of low money to enterprises and invest in sustainable equipments for the programs to reduce their ecological footprints. And the other things is the government defined goals and laws to reduce the ecological footprints in many sectors. And there is another thing before the laws that our colleagues here is said about the patents and programs. So we discuss a little bit in a few minutes. So we alleged the São Paulo city to make this kind of policies and regulations. Here in Brazil, in the São Paulo city, we have policies and regulations that we need to decrease the GHG or gas emissions until 2018. But 2018 lasts for 3 or 4 years ago. So, but then right now we have another law, another policy to decrease the bus fleet until 2028. What does it mean? Because the fleet in São Paulo has is moved from diesel and combustion, and right now we need to change the fleet from the electric vehicles and change the engines from Euro 3 to Euro 5 or other engines that have less gas emissions. So this, if you can see here, you have a diesel consumption in São Paulo bus fleet our fleet is about the 4,200 units, and they spend a lot of 1 tons of the emissions per day. So you can see here CO and MNGC, NOx and PM, particulate materials. Here is a kind of our fleets. So if you can see here, the average age of the fleet is about the 5 years or so. So this is we are trying to decrease this and change it for the electric vehicles. But the electric buses, it's a little bit more expensive than the fossil fuel buses. But in the long run, you can see benefits of that. Let's see, what is that? My screen, other. Well, that is that. Yeah. Well, I think I lost my. Oh, here it is. And the other kind of policies is about the patent programs. There is an example about the green patents. So if you have an idea about the engines or something like that could decrease the emissions, you can make some forms, fill in the forms, and send for this kind of enterprise here in Brazil, and they will make some decrease of taxes if the idea it's would be contribute to less emissions. And the other, so far we are studying this, and from the China we have a little bit example that the Christine would be, if Christine would like to say some words, would be nice. Are you still there, Christine?
Yes, I'm here. But I think the time is rough. Maybe should I still make the presentation?
How long is your presentation, Christine?
Just 1 minute.
Yeah, okay, just take it, go ahead.
Okay.
By the way, it would be very nice if for the next sessions we have one single combined presentation, if it's okay.
Okay, I know. Okay, from China, there are some examples to support the first type of policy framework. Because when we talk about the new and the sustainable logistics, we will naturally talk about the new energy vehicle industry, because when we use the new energy vehicles, we will reduce the carbon emissions and environment pollutions, which would greatly promoting the development of sustainable logistics. So to vigorously promote the production and the manufacturing of NEVs in China, the Chinese government has provided financial subsidies or low interest loans to such auto manufacturers. For example, the BYD had received government subsidies from 2013 to 2017, and it has already received a total of over 4 billion yuan in government subsidies in the last 4 years. And there are also another similar companies has received similar government support, because with the attention and strong support of the Shanghai municipal government, some banks in Shanghai provided Tesla with low interest loans in 2019 to help it set up a factory in Shanghai. So with the support of the Chinese government, the promotion of new energy vehicles in China has achieved certain results. According to the data, in 2020, China produced over 1 million EVs and sold 1.367 million. It accounted for 5.4% of the year's total vehicle sales. And according to the statistics of China Association of Automobile Manufacturers, from 2000 2014 to 2020, the sales volume of NEVs in China rose from 75,000 to 1.76 million. It has realized a leapfrog development. Okay, that's all.
Okay, thank you very much, Christine. Thank you, Professor. Our presentation is finished.
Yes, thank you very much, Elton. Thank you very much, Christine. Now I would like to give the chance firstly to Festival to comment, and then I will come up with my comments. Festival?
Thank you very much, and thanks for your presentation. I like the idea that you would want government to support these sectors with incentives, loans, so that they would do things that are very sustainable. Those who are not following such sustainable approaches also need to be fined, taxed. These are interesting ideas. But you would also consider how effective these interventions have been. Okay, in present times, they keep finding companies, prosecuting them, but you don't really see much of increment. So you need to factor these considerations into the development of your ideas. And also, I think you have the areas you engage in, it's quite broad. I see you consider industry and transport where the intervention should fall, but be more specific what you would want to look at as you try to develop the project further. Otherwise, yeah, keep working on it, and also try to engage the literature a bit more. Let's see the arguments you make in how it fits into what we already know about these transport, logistic, kind of things, and I think that would also help you to better define the focus of your project. Thanks for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, first of all, for your comments. As to me, I also liked the idea to be concentrated on a single question. And I was going to ask, is it going to be the only question you are answering, or you still want to go to and answer the other questions as well? Because I have seen only the question on governmental frameworks.
Okay, so well, we just put focus on this because it's more and more real right now. And in Brazil, this kind of incentives for the change first of all the mass transport or the public transport was the first step to change the fleet. And if you put some policies in this kind of transport, maybe so would be implementing more easily. I'm not sure if I answer your question, but that's the main idea from our discussing about the policies.
Yeah, thank you. I understand the thing, but we have 6 questions to be answered, and that's what I was going to ask. Yeah. Oh, are you going to answer these as well, or that is the question?
Oh, well, we just discussed this, but there are another questions. We need to discuss a little bit more.
Okay, sure, I understand. Good. And what I was also going to comment, because John, I think you have said in one comment that you are not pretty sure whether you stick with Brazilian case or you also consider Chinese case. I think exactly these two would be very interesting to compare. Firstly, because of different political statements. I have seen the first one, Brazilian case, is more innovative market open case, and China is more public oriented with subsidies from government. And that could be very interesting to see these two opposite directions. But also it could be very interesting to see because the comparison because of the overpopulation in both countries. So that could be another case to see how we can, or the government can make the demand or address the demand of so many people. That I would suggest to go on with both cases.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor. We'll follow your advice.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to see the progress. Are there any questions from the other working groups on working group 2? If it's not the case, we will proceed with working group number 3. Who is going to share or to present? Yeah, Wei-Cheng, go ahead.
Wei-Cheng, if you're already speaking, we cannot hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is our group members, and I will just cut short into our presentation. And this is what's happening in Taiwan. In the last mile logistics, Taiwan has developed something like online platforms that's mostly about like real-time food delivery or even the real-time bike renting. However, the bike was eventually become a bad case because everybody just abandoned the bike everywhere. And the concept about it is about all the workers can get higher pay and it will increase their participation willingness. However, the barriers is lacking of regulations or maybe it will become the eligibility markets. And about the policy framework, in Taiwan, we might increase our carbon tax charging, and our subsidies is mainly focused on our private companies. And about the business models, we just value the international supply chains the most, and we want to have the highest vertical integration. And I think Taiwan in the future, we might be being stay at home more. However, we might lose connection with others. And in China case, they have some technologies like B2B and B2C, and it will eventually become full automation. However, the worst case now is door-to-door postman. And in the concept, the driver is about their fast development of ICTs, is about their technologies. However, the safety and security is still their concerns. And the policy framework, there are many things they have to work on. You guys can see it on the screen. And about the business models, in China, the IoT is mostly supporting logistic grid platform, and that enabling track and trace, and it might become one of the business model they can develop. And the city in future is about their supply chain is going to be as a service, and it's going to be controlled by logistic grids, and it can be optimized by IoTs and have some great acceleration servers. And I'll pass it on to Azan for Pakistan.
Thank you, Wei-Cheng. So I think you're done, right?
Yeah, Azan, are you here?
Yes, okay. I didn't want to interrupt you. If I did, so sorry for that. Okay, so what I liked about your presentation is, making a table, comparing different cases with each other based on concept, policy, business model, city and future. I like this idea a lot. What I don't understand until now is are the columns. Why are you tackling technology separately from best cases and worst cases? I would suggest another way of thinking and bringing all this together. The first thing would be go into detail for both best cases and worst cases. Why are those best or worst cases? And then if you understand and go deep into the best and worst cases, you will have automatically a criteria or a table of criteria. And then it could be nice to have on columns these criteria. Keeping the horizontal integration the same like you have done. So that would be my basic command. And also, if you go deeper into the best and worst cases, I would really again highlight the importance of kind of supporting this criteria for best and worst cases from literature. So that would be my suggestion for your presentation. Festival?
Yeah, all good. But I was fascinated, like the Taiwan case, he says people were abandoning bicycles, on the streets. The obvious question comes, why? So you raised a lot of interesting issues. Of course, this is a very short presentation. You couldn't have, given much, detailed, if you like, explanation for what's happening. But you would want to consider that as you develop, the work further. And obviously, you developing a paper. So, as Annie said, more literature and also, evidence and all that. But yeah, so yeah, basically around that, try to detail your ideas, around literature and also explain what is really accounting for what you see in terms of what underlying the best case scenario and also what underlying the worst case scenario and all that. I was really interested in why people were abandoning the bicycles everywhere in Taiwan. So did you dig further into that, or you are not, you've not yet looked into that?
Oh, in Taiwan, people just abandon because there's no strict regulation about them. So people just think about after they rent in dangerous places.
Fantastic. So that could, help you in developing the kind of policy framework that would, be necessary for implementing the ideas, you trying to talk about in your work. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, first of all, for your comment. And indeed, surely there is a huge potential to go deeper and strive deeper into this. But frankly speaking, what I liked here a lot, Wei Cheng, in comparison to the others, which I also liked, the other presentations, that's not the point. But for me, that was really very nice put together here. Just from the very first slide, one slide, and everything is there. Surely you can go deeper and use this as a gate opener. I would see this slide as a gate opener or a summary table, but yeah, indeed, nice work, thanks. Okay, good. Are there any questions from the other working group members? If it's not the case, we will move to the very last presentation, which is coming from the working group number 5. And Isabel, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi.
Sure. Hi.
Here in group 5, didn't have a city to work on, but in the previously breakout room, we did choose a city to work on in this week, but I'm going to share some solutions that we put together for the last mile logistics and the best solutions. I'm going to share my screen for that. So we have lean platforms, road transport, new communications channels, geolocation service, dynamics on big data, smart lockers, electric scooters, bicycles, couriers, reusable packing, mobility platforms, electric vehicles, and alternative fuels, drones, and autonomous vehicles. Those are the solutions that we put together for the last mile logistics. And the other answers for the other questions, sorry. The other questions we're gonna answer in this week because we didn't have a city to work on. So now we're gonna work on the questions with the focus on Singapore. Sorry, you guys didn't understand me.
We did understand you, Isabel. We do understand you quite well. Are you done, or you have something to comment and share?
I'm done.
Okay,
I'm done.
The shortest presentation, but I would say it has I don't want to say the highest potential, but indeed you have taken all the biggest issues known in urban logistics. And I would suggest you have said in one sentence that those are the solutions you have listed there, but I would suggest those are not the solutions. Those are the topics. It would be fantastic if you go into these topics and say the solutions. What innovations are there? Because the platforms are obviously not very innovative, and we don't want to open another platform. It would be more interesting to see which platforms have the highest potential. So really going into the solution itself, and which of these 13 topics have been working in which country, under which kind of frameworks, and why they have been good or worst cases based on this. I think Singapore is a very good place to work experimentally on this. And another probably comparable one would be Germany, because I know that we have, or you have, German representative in your working group. So kind of comparing analysis would be also very nice based on this big platform, big topics. By the way, it's going very much into the direction of the working group number 4, or first presentation, who also came up with biggest topics. And I like the idea. So keep on. Thank you. Festival, you have the word.
Yeah, I think they have, big interesting ideas, and the thing is finding a place to apply them. Of the suggestions you give them, great. Singapore, Germany, but I think there were 13 topics, right? You
yes,
have 13 topics. Yeah, so
yes.
Maybe they would want to narrow down and see, which of them they would want to select, and carefully look into them deeper, because you have 5 questions and you are answering them around these 13 topics. So a bit narrowing may help you to find the direction very well. Otherwise, I think you have interesting ideas, and let's see how you'll be able to develop them in your future presentation.
Interesting festival, because you have said to narrow down, and I was thinking the entire time, are these really the only 13? Or there must be some other topics as well. That could be also interesting to say, for instance, not to go too much into detail in these topics, but say those are quite interesting topics, but there could be another one which is not out there until now.
That is also true.
And then go deep into that topic. So that could be an interesting way. But, Okay, thank you so much. First of all, are there any other comments from working group members? If it's not the case, I thank you so much for your time, for your efforts to bring all these fantastic presentations together. I learned a lot. Thank you very much, and keep on doing this fantastic work. And I would once again like to highlight, please use also the other working days for your working group, so that by the next Friday we have probably some more progress. We will have next Friday full of presentations. I think, Dilek, we are going to have 5 or 6 even. 5. Okay. The good thing will be that I will not take your time, so we will have only the external speakers, and then we will go again into the working groups, and I would like to see what kind of progress you have done by the next week. So with that, I thank you so much. If you have any comments or suggestions, just shout out, or questions.